Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, the Drafted Up Podcast. We're back, a little crazy the last few weeks. Free agency is 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. I don't even know. It's so hard to keep track of.
I think it's 2, maybe 2.5.
So we're going to do a callback to our first ever episode.
Hey man, happy 1 year.
1 year, yeah. Drink to that.
Yeah,
This
drinks
dope
to that,
Bluey
brother.
mug.
Mine's got little mushrooms on it.
We did free agent frenzy. We did a mock, but today we're just going to talk free agency. We're going to go team by team through the draft order and see how free agency has impacted the needs of said teams in the draft. Maybe it's kind of changed the way we'll be looking at mock drafts going forward. So, Nicholas, how you doing, dude?
Leonard, doing good. Fresh off a haircut. Work went well today. I'm ready to talk some free agents, dog. I think it had a lot of impact on the way we're mock drafting from here on out, dude.
The opposite approach for me. Did not get a haircut. Did not have a good work day today.
Opposite ends.
But yes, I'm ready
I
to
think
talk
the way
football.
I'll just get right into it. I think the way free agents has kind of played out and what the Titans have done, I think Cam Ward's a lock to go 1, regardless if it's Tennessee or someone trying to trade up. But I think Cam Ward's going to be the first pick of the draft.
Yeah, so let's dive in. Tennessee, their big signings, they brought in Dan Moore from Pittsburgh, offensive tackle. Yeah, they did. He's average, but
he's fine.
Average linemen are going to get big money on the open market.
Hell yeah.
He'll be their left tackle. This allows them to move J.C. Latham to right tackle, which I think is the bigger impact of the move. J.C. Latham, much more comfortable out there at left tackle, or at right tackle. They brought in Kevin Zeitler, who's an incredible guard. This dude, the ageless wonder.
Yep.
Cheap
He'll be
deal
playing
for
guard
him.
forever, dude.
Yeah.
High quality.
Tennessee shored up that line. So we're looking at Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, who they signed last year, Kevin Zeitler, and J.C. Latham at right tackle. Other moves, Van Jefferson, wide receiver, Xavier Woods, safety, Cody Barton, linebacker, Johnny Hecker, punter. They did sign a quarterback, Brandon Allen, and then they retained Sebastian Joseph Day, defensive tackle. None of those moves, all worldly. The two big moves are Dan Moore Jr. and Kevin Zeitler and the lack of a big name at quarterback. Brandon Allen isn't going to shy you away from drafting Cam Ward.
No. Definitely not. I think really just the way Tennessee has moved around this offseason, really stacking up that offensive line, and then just, it doesn't matter whatever quarterback you bring in, they're going to have a good front five. And I think that's going to be Cam Ward by the way this free agency is played out.
Yeah.
I wish they would have brought in some type of weapon, dude, because they really only got Calvin Ridley, dude.
Yeah. So team needs currently, we're looking at edge, quarterback, corner, wide receiver, offensive tackle, interior. We addressed them in free agency. So I think they're down the line in the draft. Defensive line, they did let Harold Landry go. So I think we're going to be looking at an edge rusher, but that's going to be day 2, day 3. Same with wide receiver, day 2, day 3. And it does seem like Cam Ward is a lock now at first overall. And I think it's going to be Tennessee. I think what they did in free agency has showed that they're locked in, that whatever they did, their process is complete, and they're on board. Cam Ward, on board with Cam Ward. That's what their little slogan should be. So yeah, I think we can lock in Cam Ward going forward, first overall to Tennessee, unless there's something sort of haul
crazy happens,
like 3 first-round picks. I don't think Tennessee moves this pick.
Yeah, if Cam Ward, if they believe that he is their guy, do not move off the pick. It's not worth trading back 1 or 2 spots just for a couple first. If you think a guy is your franchise quarterback, you have an opportunity to pick him. Pick him. It's that simple. The NFL is ran through elite quarterbacks, and if you think Cam Ward has a chance to do that and be that guy for you, he's the pick, dude.
I think they would have moved the pick prior to free agency if
I agree.
If they weren't on board with Ward. And then weapon wise, there should be a receiver there. Beginning of the second round, they draft 3rd in the second, so they could be looking at a guy like Jaden Higgins, Xavier Restrepo, Jalen Knoll. There, maybe even Luther Burden falls. Who knows? But
I think there's a chance one of the top 4 guys, and not the top 2 or 3, but I think one of the guys at the top, I think, is going to end up slipping to the beginning of the second round here.
Yeah. So that moves us to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland in free agency.
Real quick. Tennessee have a third round pick?
They do not. They traded that to Kansas City for L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah. Damn, because I was going to say that would be a really good range for Restrepo. Cam Ward's running mate at Miami, and I think them two have really good chemistry.
Yeah.
So I think the beginning of the third would have been a good snag, but getting L'Jarius Sneed is well worth a third round pick.
Yeah.
So
Cleveland, they've been pretty quiet. Their biggest news was re-signing Myles Garrett,
bringing him back
4 years, $160
money.
mil. They gave him a ton of cash. They backed up the Brinks truck and just, hey Cam or hey Myles, just tell us when to stop. It's like Parmesan cheese at the Olive Garden, and he did not stop till that truck was empty. And then they traded for Kenny Pickett. So fun stuff there.
The savior at quarterback for the Browns. But they're a team they're in quarterback hell, dude. So I get just if you have a chance to bring in any quarterback for quote cheap, because you're sitting on Watson's deal, bring them in, dude. Because I look at Cleveland as a quarterback away from being decent. So if you bring in Pickett, you still have Watson. There's a chance they bring in Wilson. There's a chance they draft Shedeur, and you have 3 or 4 quarterbacks on this team going into the year. Just because you're in quarterback hell, that's still not out of the question here.
Yeah. They also signed Malik Collins, defensive tackle. He's more of a pass rushing DT interior lineman
guy, yeah.
And then they also brought in former first round pick edge rusher Joe Tryon-Shoyinka from the Bucks. So he'll kind of be a situational guy with Myles and Alex Wright, and then Devin Bush, former Steelers linebacker. They brought him in 1 year deal. So not a ton of movement for Cleveland. They didn't do a lot to shake the world. So I think the needs were, I wouldn't necessarily say in signing Myles Garrett and bringing in Joe Tryon-Shoyinka necessarily shies them away from edge rusher, but I don't think it's as pressing of a need now. They still need a quarterback. Kenny Pickett does not solve your quarterback problem. They need a running back, but that can be pushed off. That's a day 2 or 3. You're not going to draft a running back at 2.
No.
Offensive line, same thing. You can push that back, though. A left tackle would be great for them because currently they're winding up DeJuan Jones there, and that's horrifying in my eyes.
It's terrifying.
But I also would love to see them get a weapon. Jerry Jeudy doesn't move the needle for me. He's fine. He's a good wide receiver, too.
He's a good number 2. He's a great number 2, for sure.
But
I agree.
Cedric Tillman, he's a good number 3. David Njoku is a good tight end. They just don't have a predominant, needle mover at wide receiver. But I think at 2, we're probably looking at Travis Hunter.
I think it's 3 guys.
Who the Browns have come out. Their GM said he views Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. I think Travis Hunter is a needle mover at the position. I think we're looking at Abdul Carter, the edge rusher, just because they re-signed Myles Garrett and brought in some edge help.
That's true.
You're not going to shy away from a potentially elite prospect in Abdul Carter, because Carter and Myles Garrett, that's a wreck. In the AFC North, which is the toughest division in football. Getting that pass rush gives them a huge up. And then the other one is obviously Shedeur Sanders.
Yep, I 100% agree. It's down to those 3 guys. It's going to be Hunter, Carter, or Shedeur. I'm leaning Shedeur right now just based off their needs and what Stefanski can do with a guy like Shedeur. He did wonders with Case Keenum when he was your quarterback coach in OC. Kirk Cousins, he's just the Joe Flacco. He does really well with guys that can't really push the ball far down the field.
Yeah.
Shedeur's the best pure passer in this class. It all just makes a lot of sense on why he kind of messed around with the interviews, because if you can lock in that you're going to, he's a guy that's not going to have a care in his world because he knows he's going to.
Yeah, and I brought that up post-combine when we were just
I don't like
tanking
it,
and everything. I was like, maybe he just knows where he's going. Like, he's locked in.
Exactly, yeah.
Dream scenario for me would be Cleveland drafting Travis Hunter at 2 and then trading back in, say, to 20 to jump Pittsburgh and get Shedeur. And I think that'll kind of keep Dion. Let Dion do it. They got both the boys. Like, that's his agreement to get Shedeur there, is that you're drafting Travis as well. And Stefanski, I think, is a good enough coach where he can kind of handle the circus, because he's dealt with the Deshaun Watson thing here for the last few years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Stefanski can hold down a zoo if he needed to. And that's what Shedeur kind of brings. He brings a zoo environment. I from everything I've heard, the top 3 teams are all on Shedur's imaginary list of teams that he will play for. So
Generic list.
I think the Browns are good. I think the Giants are going to be good to get him if they want him. I personally wouldn't take him 2 or 3, but I get it. It's a quarterback-driven league. We talked about it with Cam Ward. He's not an elite prospect, but at the end of the day, he's probably the second best quarterback in the draft, the best pure passer in the draft. And that's what the Browns need, dude. They need someone to come in here and run the offense like a point guard. And that's what Shedeur can do for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Shedeur is a perfect fit for Kevin Stefanski.
I agree. And I would prefer them. I don't think they're going to trade back in for Shedeur. I think they're going to take him at 2. But if like Omario Hampton happens to fall and they can snag him at the beginning of the second, I think that gives Shedeur an amazing elite running back to carry that offense for him. So I would definitely try to grab a receiver or running back for Shedeur here early on.
Yeah, and the Browns, I think they have a full slate of picks. Yeah, they 33, 67. They got 2 3s. So
They're good.
Yeah, even if Hampton goes, you draft the receiver at 33, and then at 67, 94, you're looking at running backs, and then they have an early 4th on top of that. So which is pick 104. So they almost have 5 picks in the top 100.
Yeah, and you love to see that as a Browns fan. So they can go out here and hit on 3, 4 of those 5 picks. And one of them's a quarterback, and if Shedeur can run the offense, the Browns are going to be decent. Stefanski's always put a team in the best position to win. So
yeah,
he's amazing, dude. He's
2-time
so good.
Coach of the Year winner.
Yeah, exactly. And that just shows what kind of guy he is.
Dallas in the offseason should have traded a 1 for this guy.
There's a lot of people talking about like he is their best asset because he can just go in there and win with whatever you give him.
Yep.
I get it. He's an amazing coach.
Giants at 3. They've been somewhat active here in free agency. They brought back Darius Slayton. They brought back Tommy DeVito. They signed Paulson Adebo, the corner from New Orleans. He got big money. They signed the safety Javon Holland. He got big money, which it's just funny because they could have just kept Xavier McKinney last year. But Holland with Tyler Nubin, I think is a really good pairing.
I think it's a good fit. Yeah, I love what we've done for the secondary, dude. We needed it.
And then it's just some depth names: Stone Forsythe, James Hudson.
Yep.
They're going to be depths along the offensive line. Roy Robertson Harris on the defensive line as well. And again, team needs didn't change too much here.
I agree.
It's quarterback.
Yep.
Or bust essentially for the Giants. Corner. I think like signing Paulson Adebo wouldn't shy me away from drafting Travis Hunter because you still need another outside corner. Deontay Banks isn't going to keep me again away from drafting Travis Hunter. But a corner crew of Adebo, Hunter, and Drew Phillips in the nickel, that's a nice rounding spot. Sure. Or Travis Hunter with Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson. That's a good corner wide receiver room for whoever the quarterback
and whatever quarterback,
being. Whether it Jackson Dart, Aaron Rodgers, who still hasn't signed as of this recording, or Jackson Dart, or Jameis Winston, or Russell Wilson.
A little insight on the pod. We were going to do a mock draft last week, and we were like, we can't do a mock until really like Russell Wilson signs or Aaron Rodgers signs, just to know what kind of order it's going to fall. And of course, that dumb motherfucker is going to just keep holding out on signing because it's got to be about him. And it's going to be it's going to be the Steelers. It's going to be the Giants. It's just fucking sign, dude. Who cares?
He's going to sign the week of the draft.
100%. I agree.
I read something that he might wait out till minicamp to see how JJ McCarthy is doing for Minnesota. Because that's where he wants to go. He wants to be a Minnesota Viking. He wants to be Brett Favre. And the Vikings, they haven't come out and said, no, we don't want Aaron Rodgers. But they haven't done anything to show they do want Aaron Rodgers. All offseason, this has been Minnesota saying, this is JJ McCarthy's team. They haven't even brought in another quarterback to pair with him on the roster. They let Nick Mullins go. They let Sam Darnold go. They let Daniel Jones go.
Yeah.
So, but the Giants, quarterback, corner, defensive line, edge, interior, I think, are in play here if you're missing out on a corner. Abdul Carter, you're obviously not going to turn down Abdul Carter or maybe even Mason Graham if you have to pick one of them.
Yeah, I think guys like Carter are still in the running. Hunter, Mason Graham, Shedeur, Cam Ward. I think it's going to be like one of those 5 guys you can pretty much just lock into the Giants at the top of the draft. The guys we signed haven't stopped us from getting Hunter because, like you said, we still need an outside corner. We still need a receiver.
Mhm.
Getting another pass rusher to pair with Brian Burns and Thibodeau. Thibodeau's always kind of banged up here and there, so just getting the third guy solidifies. That's a really good pass rush. If you get those three guys on the same line
Mhm.
with Sexy Dexy as well, dude, that line's cooking. So
Yeah.
they do have options if they don't go quarterback. They have an early second, trade back into the first if need be, if you want the 5-year contract. Jackson Dart's an option. Tyler Shuck, if you want to do like back end of the second, early third. You need a guy that's going to be able to play at some point this year. So those are the guys that you kind of are looking at.
Yeah. Jalen Milroe, probably not an option for this team. I do like the fit of Will Howard with Brian Daboll, but is Will Howard somebody you really want playing from the jump?
Yeah, see, I really like the Will Howard to Vegas connection. I get it's generic.
Chip Kelly's there. No, I love it.
Chip Kelly's there. I think Will Howard can step immediately into Vegas if need be because it's the same offense Ohio State is running that Vegas is running now because of Chip. So I think Will Howard has a chance to really develop into a good, decent quarterback with Vegas because Vegas is obviously taking the steps with Tom Brady now as partial owner.
And Tom Brady's really big on developing the quarterback. He doesn't think quarterbacks be playing.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and that's why we saw Geno Smith get traded there, and we'll see the development there. Next up is New England. Very active. They spent that money. They only retained one of their guys, which was Austin Hooper, who had a nice little year back and forth here for the Patriots. But Milton Williams, they got the gem of the defensive line. 4 years, $104 million. Carlton Davis, 3 years, $60 million. They brought in Harold Landry, 3 for $43.5 million. Morgan Moses, who's going to be their right tackle. They got him for 3 years. Mac Hollins at wide receiver. Josh Dobbs to be the backup. The former first-round pick, Kalavin Chasen, LSU product, went to the Jaguars, never really amounted to anything. And then they're bringing in Garrett Bradbury, who the Minnesota Vikings cut. He'll be the center there. So they shored up center. They shored up right tackle. They shored up their defensive line. They got a corner. So now New England is open to anything. Like Mason Graham was the sexy pick here. Mason Graham and Abdul Carter were the two guys. And now same with Will Campbell. He was always there in Armin Membu. I honestly think New England's in the position to move back because now we're looking if Shedeur and Cam Ward go 1-2, Giants maybe take Travis Hunter. Then Abdul Carter's on the board. I think one of those teams, whether it be Carolina, Chicago, maybe New Orleans, tries to move up to get Abdul Carter, and then one of those linemen fall to New England, whether it be Membu or
Will
Campbell. I wouldn't even rule out Tyler Warren if they trade back to 8, 9, or 10. So I think New England, it's opened up that they don't have to fixate on needs. They can actually fixate on who's the best player on their board.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Tyler Booker would be another guy, depending on where they trade. He would a guy that would fit New England's kind of style. Really protect Drake May. I don't think they're going Mason Graham. I think you can kind of rule him out with how much they paid the interior line.
I agree.
I do think Carter's still in play, though. I think Hunter's in play. Membu, Will Campbell, if they think one of those guys can play tackle, like if they think Will Campbell can play tackle, they're going to pick him. It's that simple. And Membu's obviously, he can play tackle, he can kick inside, so he fits either need of them. New England's sitting pretty here at 4, dude. They're really hoping quarterback goes 1-2 and then the board just falls to them. Because if they're sitting 4 with, doesn't matter if it's Hunter or Carter, someone's calling up for that pick. Yeah. And New England, that's a classic Belichick. I get Belichick's not there, but that system is still, we need to stockpile picks and then just do whatever we want with them.
They have so many needs. They have to overhaul this roster, and they did a lot here in free agency, but there's still so much they need to do. There's a lot. Having pick 4 isn't necessarily beneficial to them. Whereas they could trade back, get a second or even a third, and to go along with another first. Like if they move to 8 or 9 or 10, and they get whether that be a second. If it's Chicago, I think Chicago gives up a 2. They have 2 2s, so then. You're in position there at 10. Membu might be there. Campbell might be there. I wouldn't even rule out Ashton Janty for them either. I didn't even bring him up. Like
Yeah.
to me, the New England's free agency, sure they spent a ton of money, but
Mhm.
it was needed. Nobody really wanted to go there, so you're gonna have to overpay for the guys.
You
And I think
have
this
to pay.
opens up that they don't have to like stick and pick. They can move back.
Yeah.
It gives them
Yeah, they're good.
flexibility at 4 now.
You bring up Tetero McMillan. I think he's a chance here for New England as well.
I did not bring up Tet.
I think Ted's in play even at 4 if they feel he's that kind of receiver. But I think trading back, that's when he really gets in play, like 8, 9, 10 for New England. That's what Drake May needs to. Like they have, like their number 1 receivers and number 3 somewhere else. They need to get this dude weapons, dude. I get that you can do it early second,
How-
but if you
how
think
dare
Ted
you
is
disrespect, who is their one? Is it Kendrick Bourne? Is it Jalen Polk?
it's
Is it Matt
Kendrick Bourne,
Collins?
it's Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, Jalen Polk, Matt Collins, and Javon Baker, I believe, are their 5 receivers. And none of those guys. What is that? That's just not a good receiving room.
Somehow Hunter Henry's still the best option on this football team in the
Yeah, and
passing
so
game.
you need to go out there and get Drake May, these kind of guys, because Drake May's already proven he's going to be good.
Oh,
He had no offensive line last year.
Kayshon Boutte is their one.
We forgot about Booty, because that guy is a literal B-O-O-T-Y, Booty.
But Drake May really liked him at the end of the year. They had a little connection.
Yeah, he's a really good number 3, dude. He is a really good number 3. But if you bring in Tet, dude, he's the alpha of that room, dude. And he overlooks that whole room. He's a big body. Drake May, he's that kind of guy.
Speaking of big bodies, you think the Patriots move Joe Milton? There's talks that they want to move Joe Milton to help develop him because they did bring in Josh Dobbs, so it does push Milton back to their third stringer again. And kudos to them for coming out like, hey, we want to trade him somewhere where it's going to help him.
Very respectable.
Yeah, and apparently it's come out that they want a 3, which probably means they get at best a 4, but I think it's more of a 5 if they do move him. Which is an upgrade because I was he a 7th round pick?
He was a 6th or a 7th. He went late. But dude, if you can get an early 5th or like a late 4th, that's a huge come up, dude, for a 3rd string backup quarterback.
Joe Milton, Giant starting quarterback in 2025.
Yeah, there's a chance, dude. Like I would prefer the upgraded Joe Milton being Jameis Winston because they do the same exact thing. And Winston brings such a vibe to a team, though. But yeah, without these quarterback signings, it's kind of weird. Like because we still got Rodgers, we got Wilson, we got Winston, who could all start on the Giants. So yeah, we'll see how it plays. But I think New England here is sitting pretty at 4. Might be the best spot in the draft right now.
Yeah. Jacksonville, Duval. They drafted 6.
Stop it.
I can't find them. I don't know my alphabet. Here they are.
The worst vibe in the NFL history from Jacksonville this offseason.
They just kind of overpaid for some. They brought in guard Patrick McCarry from the Ravens. They paid Jordan Lewis, a nickel corner from the Cowboys, who's pushing 30. They gave him a 3-year, $30 million deal.
Yeah.
Eric Murray, the safety. They brought in Robert Hainsey, the center, who was in Tampa with Liam Cohen. Diami Brown for 1 year, Nick Mullins. Viking legend Johnny Munt at tight end. So nothing spectacular here from the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm not loving their offseason so far. I think they still need to... They cut Christian Kirk. They cut Evan Ingram. So they're just cutting all these weapons for Trevor Lawrence. I really don't like Brendan Strange as a starting tight end. So I think Evan Ingram hits a huge loss to Trevor Lawrence. He was a real safety blanket for Lawrence. So you got to go out here and get the tight end classes deep. So Jackson was going to be drafting a tight end at some point. You got to bring in another receiver here with BTJ, dude. Like he is a good receiver. I'll eat my words on that one, but I don't know if he's going to be good enough to eat all of this double coverage and be the only target for Trevor Lawrence. You got to do something here.
I think they will address. I like Parker Washington. I think he's a good 3.
I do like Parker Washington a decent enough, but like you said, he's a good 3.
They got Diami Brown and Gabe Davis, who are just 2 failed deep threat receivers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule out Tetero McMillan here. I think him with Brian Thomas Jr. kind of gives Liam Cohen his Godwin, Mike Evans, except sort of role reverse because Tet's the bigger bodied receiver, but I think he plays more like Godwin, whereas Brian Thomas Jr. is the big play guy like Mike Evans. So I do like Tet here at 5. I also think this could be a trade down situation, but I
I
still
would
think
I still like
need-wise,
Mason Graham.
I
Mason
think
Graham here makes
need-wise
sense.
is still interior defensive line. They got to shore up this defense. And
Yep.
Mason Graham to Jacksonville is one of my favorite fits in the draft. And
I
think,
agree.
I think that's the route they still go. If Abdul Carter's there, obviously you're not going to shy away from an edge rusher because, again, this is a new regime. So this regime has no real connection to Trayvon Walker. So they might be like, sure, Trayvon Walker was drafted first overall, but we didn't draft him first overall.
Yeah. We would have taken Aiden Hutchinson, like a reasonable organization should be ran. But we're sitting here with Trayvon Walker, who has produced well.
He's done really well.
He is a pin his ear kind of back. He pin his ears back and just go get the quarterback. He's had double-digit sacks in the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he's not Aiden Hutchinson. He'll probably never be that. But he is still good, and he's developed into a good pass rusher.
Mm.
But Jacksonville's you got to get a run stopper, dude. You need someone that's going to eat up the middle, eat double blocks, open up lanes for these pass rushers. Mm-hmm. Mason Graham's that dude.
Yep. Yeah, I still like Graham there. I think that's still their biggest need. I think they also still need an outside corner and then another weapon on the outside with BTJ.
Now, I think if Hunter's here, if he falls to 5, I would lock in Hunter over Graham for sure.
Yeah, he fits 2 needs because then you can figure out where you're putting him. He can play corner, he can play wide receiver. You'll figure out how the rest of the board falls.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And see where he ends up going. But
like I was going to say, there's probably 30, 34 interior guys that are going to get drafted in this draft. And the receiving room isn't great, but it's deepish here and there. There's guys if you like here and there. So like you don't have to, and corner is great. You can get one in the second, the third. So if you can get Hunter and just narrow down 2 positions and just hope a receiver falls or a corner, you're sitting prettier for Jacksonville with Hunter than Mason Graham.
Yeah. Next up, the Vegas Raiders. Their big move. They traded for Geno Smith. They re-signed Max Crosby.
Love it.
They brought in Jeremy Chin, who replaces Trayvon Moehring. They signed Raheem Mostert, and
don't really love that.
They signed Alex Kappa, the guard who the Bengals cut.
Yeah. Yeah, so I Vegas, I do love the Geno thing. I think Geno he's a really underrated quarterback, and he does a lot with dog shit like he's done in Seattle. Obviously, he's had DK and Tyler Lockett and JSN, but that offensive line in Seattle is one of the worst. Where he gets to Vegas, Vegas has a pretty decent offensive line.
Yeah, Vegas has done a great job of building their line over the few years. And
he's reconnected with Pete Carroll now, and the defense they're going to solidify. They have Brock Bowers, who is an elite rookie tight end. They got Jacoby Myers, who's a really underrated number 2 receiver. Mm-hmm. You've been hyping up Genty 6, and now it just kind of makes sense that Genty goes 6. It's what they're missing. They let their whole running back crew fucking walk, and they brought in a crippling old man in Raheem Mostert.
It's Raheem Mostert and Sincere McCormick are their 2 running backs. So Zamir White's still there too.
I was going to say they still have Zamir White, who is a failed experiment.
Yeah, I think running back is their biggest need. If Shedeur makes it to 6, maybe they tinker with that. But I think Geno allows them to push quarterback to day 2 or day 3 and look at Will Howard, Jalen Milroe. Even probably not Riley Leonard, but maybe he develops under Pete Carroll.
The Syracuse
Kyle McCord. That's who I was going for, and I had Riley Leonard stuck in my head. And then they still need a receiver.
I was wondering why you brought up Riley Leonard. I'm like, this guy jumped like 7, 8 quarterbacks in the draft that I would take
in hours. Yes, but a lot of people love Riley Leonard. I saw a guy.
That is true.
I think it was Nate Tice, Mike Tice's son, who is one of the draft experts over at Yahoo.
Okay,
I think he had Riley Leonard in his top 50.
Well, hey man, Danny Jones went 6 for a reason, so he is Danny Jones. So I get it.
But I think you're looking at running back. I wouldn't rule out Teteroa McMillan here as well. Tet with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. That's a really good receiving crew.
We're cooking.
Yeah. Receivers in need. And I still think they need a corner. And Mason Graham, this is a dream spot for Mason Graham. If Mason Graham falls here, him on that defensive line with Max Crosby. Christian Wilkinson, Tyler Wilson, maybe that helps him develop into the top 15 pick he was. So Yeah, I think Vegas it opens up a little more where I think they can afford to take a running back at 6.
I agree. Yeah,
I think they
with
can
what
toy
they've done,
around here.
yeah, if they want to take Janty, I thought they had holes to hit before free agents that I didn't think they could take a running back. I think now with Geno and what you've done offensively and defensively in free agents, I think Genty's a great pick here. And I like Vegas a lot, dude. Like Geno's a really good quarterback, and he's going to be able to win
So
7, 8 games, 9 games, maybe with.
I'll
with
throw
this
a
team.
hypothetical at you here. They draft Janty at 6,
Yeah.
and then at 37 or wherever they pick in the second, they take I don't know, Jaden Higgins.
Okay.
And then, or you take Tet at 6 and get
I would rather that.
Quinshon Judkins at
I'd rather
37.
that. I would rather go running back second because my gap between like Genty, Mario Hampton, Henderson, Judkins, and Caleb Johnson are all really close to where it's like Tet, Golden, Buko, Burton.
Spoilers.
These aren't rankings. These aren't rankings. Those aren't in order. I'm just saying those are my top 4 guys. And after that,
Travis Hunter.
the gap. I don't rank him as any position. He's just a guy.
Yes, he sound like me.
But after the 4 receivers, though, it's a huge gap in my eyes. Where I think there's so many good running backs I would rather in the second round.
That's fair.
And you know how I feel about Ted. I think Ted's a dog, dude.
Yeah. 7, the New York Jets. Their biggest move, signing quarterback Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million. They brought in a corner, Brandon Stevens from the Ravens, Andre Sisco, the safety. That's pretty much it there for them of notes. And then they re-signed their own linebacker, Jamian Sherwood. So the Jets here, they need offensive line still. They need a tackle. So Membu, Will Campbell, still in play here. They need a weapon, whether it be tight end or receiver. So Tyler Warren, Tedero McMillan, I think are options as well at this pick. I also wouldn't rule out them taking a defensive lineman. Maybe they love Shamar Stewart. Maybe they love. Well, I mean, obviously, they would love if Abdul Carter fell to them or Mason Graham. I think they could tinker around with the idea of drafting a defensive lineman or edge rusher, but I think you're really looking at tackle, tight end, or receiver here for the Jets at 7.
Yeah, I think if Membu falls and he's not already gone, I think there's a good chance he goes to the Jets. And I think Tyler Warren would be my number 2 here for the Jets. I think it would go Membu, Warren.
Yeah.
Mason Graham if he happens to fall, but I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think Carter's going to be there.
From a realistic standpoint, I would rather Membu and Campbell, and then Tyler Warren would be after that.
If they don't think Campbell can play tackle, I'm not taking him over Warren.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's fair because
I don't think their need for guard is as big as tight. Like if they don't think Campbell can play tackle,
they got Elijah Vera Tucker. So yeah, that's a good point. But if they do think Campbell's a tackle, I think you take 100%. The right tackle over the tight end.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, if you have any belief that Will Campbell can play tackle, pick him. It's that simple. It doesn't from New England down. If you believe that Will Campbell can play tackle, pick him. He's great. He's good. He's going to be good. But if you think he's going to be a guard, just let it rock. Take Membu.
Yeah. Carolina, they're up at 8. They re-signed their own corner, J.C. Horn. He reset the market for a week.
Yeah, 1 week until what's his face got signed to Houston.
Yep. They brought back Andy Dalton, which I think is big for Bryce Young. Tommy Tremble, Austin Corbett, their center as well, brought in. And then free agency, they brought in defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton. They brought in edge rusher Patrick Jones. They brought in safety Trayvon Mooring. Rico Dowdle here backing up Chuba Hubbard. So
such a weird signing, dude.
Yeah, I just don't understand why Dallas didn't
want him. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's getting $3.5 million more than they signed Javonte Williams. So I mean, Jerry Jones cheap. So maybe that's why.
Well, Jerry Jones also seen the name Javonte Williams, and he's like, "Oh, I love that guy coming out. He hasn't had any type of ACL injuries, or he's been dog shit the last 4 years." I love that guy in the draft.
Miles Sanders really ripped us up a few years ago with the Eagles. Bring him in too.
Oh, that guy, he just won a Super Bowl down there in
Yeah.
Philly.
So
I think it's wide receiver or edge rush. I
Yeah.
think that's what's going to happen here.
yeah, I think we're looking at defensive line, whether it's
Has
interior or
Steph
edge.
Diggs signed yet?
No.
Steph Diggs needs to go here. Steph Diggs and Thielen reconnection with Xavier Leggett. Come on, dude. That's a great.
You're disrespecting my boy Jalen Coker.
Sure, he's not Steph Diggs, dude. Like Steph Diggs, I questioned him a lot coming in off his injury last year in Houston. Again, he's coming off another
I
injury.
can't believe Dallas hasn't signed Steph Diggs, honestly.
I'm just shocked no one has signed Diggs. Like at the end of the day, he's still going to be a really productive number 3, number 2 receiver in the NFL.
Maybe
he still has like 2 good years left.
Maybe he's not as far along in his injury recovery.
That's true.
I think, or maybe he's just wait and see how the draft goes. Maybe he's one of those after draft signees. Honestly, would love him back in Minnesota. The 3 with Jay Jettis and Jordan Addison.
You greedy fuck. You greedy fuck. I'll take him.
You gotta build the weapons for JJ McCarthy, my dude.
You got Hawkinson. You got one
Draft
of the top
Colston
5
Loveland
tight
at
ends
24 as well. Draft Colston Loveland. You got TJ Hawkinson. Sign Steph Diggs. Trade for Adam Thielen. Bring him back. Run it back,
You're out
baby.
Here trading for running backs, signing running backs as well.
Yeah. But yeah, Carolina,
a ton of stuff, dude.
Carolina, I think it's edge / defensive line. Obviously, Mason Graham, you would take him here. A wide receiver as well, but yeah, and then Jalen Walker, if you view him as an edge, I think this is where his range sort of starts. I see him more as an edge than a linebacker. Yeah. Like when we 100%. Do our defensive stuff, Jalen Walker will be in my edge rankings, not my linebacker rankings.
100%. He was very sketchy when he had to play linebacker.
Yeah,
he can get it done, and I know he wants to do both at the NFL. But as a pin his ears kind of back edge, he is good. And I think like here the Carolina, I think Carolina's going to go edge depending on if they love one. But if Tet happens to fall past like Vegas, Jacksonville, the Jets, and they love Tet, I think that's a really good connection with him, Bryce, Thielen, that decent receiving crew.
I also wouldn't, guys. I wouldn't rule out Tyler Warren here as well. I don't know if Carolina can make a luxury pick like a tight end at 8, but if they really want to continue the development of Bryce Young and get him weapons, Tyler Warren goes a long way here.
Yeah, dude, that would help Bryce
I would rather see them move back into the first and get Colston Loveland if he starts to tumble. I think Colston Loveland there would be
I wouldn't pick
glorious.
I wouldn't pick Warren here, but if you can get an edge guy here that you are confident in, and then you're able to trade back in for, even if it's not Loveland and it's like Golden or Ibuka or Burden, go trade into this and get Bryce Young that guy. He needs it. Show us that you want him to develop.
I also wouldn't rule out a trade down situation. I think Carolina's in a position where they can trade down. Say a team wants to jump up, get Janty or one of the tackles before Chicago or New Orleans. So I think this could be a move down situation. I think that would benefit them as well because then they do get a little more leeway with their pick.
Yeah, if they're sitting in the boat and they have the top 4 edge rushers after Carter all in the same boat, and they think 2 to 6 is the same, trade back. Get some extra picks. Still get one of your pass rushers. It is what it is.
Yep. After Carolina is New Orleans. The Saints, they traded for defensive tackle Devon Godshaw from the Patriots. They gave Chase Young a ton of money, 3 years, $51 million. The man just gets signed off Aura.
He's just out here scamming people. It's all right.
Yep. Oh, I mean, speaking of scams, I love Juwan Johnson. I would not be giving that guy $30 million over 3 years. So, Juwan Johnson, insane deal. $10 million a year for him. That's not my boat of things.
Yeah, that's too much, dude.
And then they signed Justin Reed away from the Saints or the Chiefs. So they brought him in. That's their big signing. Him pairing with Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah, but none of their signings change their needs. They need offensive line help. They still need edge rushers, and I wouldn't rule out receiver. I would say those are their biggest 3 needs.
Yeah, it's either side of the line. It doesn't matter which side they're feeding. You got to you got to build the trenches here in New Orleans. You got to start from the ground and build up.
Maybe corner
Receiver,
as well.
sure, because I was gonna say corner's their fourth need. After Olave, who had a horrendous, terrifying year, there's no one there. Like Rashid Shaheed is coming off a crazy injury. They lost MVS, who had he shined bright last year. There's no one they're throwing the ball to. Like, I feel bad for Derek Carr and Chris Olave and Kamara. They're just kind of surrounded by schmucks.
This is a team that's refusing to enter a rebuild. They still think they can compete with Kevin Austin Jr.
Their cap situation's insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
New Orleans has a lot of needs in the trenches, weapons.
Yeah. If Kellen Moore,
I think at some point they draft a running back.
Kudos to him.
God bless him.
Yeah. I mean, unless Kellen Moore likes
him. I don't know how they ended up landing him, dude.
Kendry Miller. If Kellen Moore likes Kendry Miller, I don't know if they dabble too much into the running back market. I wouldn't rule out a quarterback here.
I think you got it.
I think we count Tyler Warren
honestly
out.
Hear a lot of love. I hear a lot of love for Spencer Rattler in New Orleans, coming out of New Orleans. I don't think they're taking a quarterback.
Yeah.
I don't. You seen it last year, but I'm hearing a ton of buzz that New Orleans still loves.
If Kellen Moore likes him, maybe he wants to see a year with Spencer Rattler before next year's quarterback class getting maybe Garrett Nussmeier, whose dad's on the coaching staff. Maybe that's the plan there. But Tyler Warren's always a name that gets tossed around here. I think with them re-signing Juwan Johnson, they've brought back Foster Moreau as well.
Pace it out.
I think we're not looking at that. But yeah, I think offensive line, defensive line, receiver, and corner.
Defense,
I think none of that changed here for the Saints.
100%. Yeah. Back to the running back though. Kamara's getting a little bit old, and I like Kendry Miller. I get it. He's just always banged up, dude. And I get some of it was a false report off that bad head coach they had last year of putting him on the PUP list after he was already cleared, just despite the team. I still think you got to bring in like a power back, dude. I think that's what they're missing. They're missing like a short yardage back, a guy that can go in there and get you a 3 to 4, like a big body back.
My guy, Jarquez Hunter.
I was just saying, Rocket Sanders, like a guy like that, like a big guy that can just move the chains a little bit.
So you're looking at a day 3 running back in the 5th round range.
Yeah, I'm not saying early. No, I would say like 4th round is the earliest they would take it back.
Chicago, they've done so much in free agency. They traded for guard Joe Thuney from the Chiefs. They traded for center/guard Jonah Jackson from the Rams. They brought in Chris Dolman, the top center on free agency. They brought in Grady Jarrett. They brought in edge rusher Ian Digbo. And then they kept some of their own guys, Travis Homer, Chris Williams, guys that aren't going to move the needle there. But now they do have the luxury to toy with Ashton Jeanty at 10. So maybe Ben Johnson wants to bring a running back in. So I would throw that as a team need there at 10. I also wouldn't rule out them still getting an offensive lineman, being Membu or Will Campbell. If they think they're a tackle,
I agree.
You're going to take them. And then defensive line, edge rusher or interior. I still think they continue to build the trenches, like a Shamar Stewart maybe, or trading up for Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I do like the Jeanty fit here with Chicago with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, a decent Billy built offensive line through free agency now. I don't think they're there yet. I think Ben Johnson knows that in order to succeed, you have to get the foundation. And you need the offensive line, you need a defensive line. So I think it's going to be a pass rush, interior guy, or Membu or Campbell if they think both of those guys are tackles. And they have what, 3 seconds? 2 seconds and a third?
I think they have 5 picks in the top 100.
It's something like that. So I think a running back is one of those 5 picks.
They got 10, 39, 41, 72. So 2 seconds, a third.
Yeah, they have 2 seconds and a third.
So you could be looking at Trevion
So
Henderson,
I think one of those seconds
in round 2.
Judkins. I think
or Jud.
Yeah, Henderson, Judkins, one of those guys, I think Chicago's going to. I think one of the Chicago picks in the top 100 is going to be a running back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be 10.
So
I think it's going to be 39, 41, or the pick after that. But 10, build the trenches. Membu, Campbell, Stewart on the defensive line. A couple other pass rushers. I'm really blanking.
Jalen
Williams from Georgia. Yeah, Walker.
Not for this guy.
I don't think I wouldn't take Williams this high, but I think Williams is going to go very high in this draft.
Dude, he ran like a 4.8 at his pro day.
I don't think it matters.
Oh,
I don't think it matters.
The Niners.
It matters to me a little bit, but the NFL loves that dude. He's going to go decently high.
Yeah, the Niners. This has been a roulette of guys they've got rid of.
Oh my god, dude! The Niners literally let, I think, all 53 men on the roster go, if that's physically possible.
They literally let Kyle Juszczyk go, and then we're just like, we'll bring him back.
Re-signed him. Shit, we actually need that guy. We've lost too much.
They gave Jaguars third-string tight end Luke Farrell 3 years for $20 million. Weird signing. DeMarcus Robinson.
Crazy weird.
2-year deal. The prophecies finally happened. Mac Jones is on the 49ers. They could have just picked him at 3. And
then way better. And that was the report when they traded up to 3. It was the Niners are trading up to 3 to get Mac Jones. Because Shanahan loved him that much. So now I really wonder if Shanahan did love Mac Jones that much, but ownership made him pick Trey Lance.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But I obviously they freed up all this room because we're going to see the Brock Purdy extension here in the next couple months.
And guess who's going to be laughing, baby? This guy. I'm going to be hysterically laughing when they overpay that guy and have to. He's that's fine. It. He's fine. He's okay.
He's a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback when he's surrounded with Deebo Samuel, a healthy Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, a healthy Christian McCaffrey, one of the best offensive lines in football, one of the best coaches in football, a top 5 defense. Kyle Juszczyk. What are we talking about here? They're literally top 5 in all of these things. And then when one of these things is missing, just one, it doesn't have to be a combination. It's just a one. Brock Purdy fucking crumbles, dude. It's hilarious.
So the Niners, they need to fix the offensive line still. They need a tackle. They need a defensive line.
They need an offensive line so bad, dude.
This to me is my favorite Jalen Walker spot. Robert Saleh with Jalen Walker, I think, is a fun fit.
I do like that.
Yeah, so
I do like that a lot.
They could even go corner. I would say corner, defensive line, whether it's edge or interior, and offensive line, specifically tackle. I'm not of the point to take Kelvin Banks at 12 or 11. So I think we're looking more defensive line where Shamar Stewart, Jalen Walker, Mike Green, James Pierce Jr., all these guys are going to be there for them. Yep. If they want to go corner,
Barron would be a good pick.
I think Will Johnson also fits here as well.
Yeah, he's a good outside corner that would be able to rock in San Fran's defense for sure.
They solid play
a couple
zone,
of good edge rushers. They could. Yeah. I think you really got to solidify that offensive line here. Tyler Booker, he's not a guy out of the question. I would be cool with him here at what are we at, 13, 14 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be cool with Booker. I like Booker a lot. I think he's the best interior guy in the draft. San Fran's got to build the trenches, dude. That's what San Fran lives off of, and they're going to do it. They're going to be fine because Kyle Shanahan's one of the best coaches in football.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's some chance he pulls like an Andy Reid and he just wants to change the scenery, I think San Fran crumbles, dude.
I think that's best for both of them, though. It'll let San Fran just kind of
I
tear everything down, build it up, and Shanahan gets to kind of go to greener pastures, maybe.
I think he needs to he needs to change for sure.
Yeah.
He's a great coach, and it's not that he can't get them over the hump. The team is always just riddled with injuries constantly, dude.
Yeah.
From Deebo, Kittle, McCaffrey, their offensive line, their defense constantly. That's a valid point. Yeah. San Fran should definitely start working on a training staff. Start drafting training staff guys.
They're signing Keenan Allen.
Oh.
Also still a free agent.
I remember how much that guy got hurt. Hey, man. I'd take him. I would assume he's holding out for the Chargers, who aren't going to sign him because they brought back Mike Williams. We'll get there. Or the Bears. I've heard he only wants to play for those two teams. So I have no idea what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. Dallas, they traded for Kaiir Elam, corner from the Bills, and Kenneth Murray, the linebacker from the Titans. They re-signed their own defensive tackle, Osa Adigzua. Sorry if I butchered that one. They brought back Cavante Turbin. Yeah, signed Solomon Thompson. They signed Javonte Williams. They signed Miles Sanders. They signed Dante Fowler, who's the first player they've given more than $6 million a year to in free agency since 2014. That wasn't
Greg Hardy, wasn't it?
That wasn't their own player. Yeah, it was Greg Hardy.
Yeah, it was Greg Hardy. 11 or 12 years ago. That Dallas, they just don't sign people that aren't on their team.
And then
the contracts.
They signed Paris
and when
Campbell.
they do, they're like first, second round busts that they just think can spark.
Oh, you mean
Dallas has no idea how to maneuver in free agency.
Edge rusher Peyton Turner from the Saints?
Yeah.
Former first round pick. Yeah. I feel so bad for Cowboys fans because this is a mess.
I brought about it when we were talking about Javonte. I truly think Jerry Jones just see these guys that he loved in the draft process, couldn't get at Dallas, and now he sees them on the market, and he signs them for dirt cheap because they just didn't work out.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
They have no idea what they're doing there in Dallas. And as a Giants fan, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I don't think they drafted a running back at 12. That's listed as their top need, but I think you're looking at an offensive line, maybe a wide receiver. And
I honestly think I'm willing to stop at offensive line. I think that's where they're going.
You're telling me if Tedero McMillan's not there, they don't take him? You're telling me Jerry Jones, Texas, he sees Matthew Golden ran a 4.29
over like.
What if the guy?
I think they would take Tyler Booker over Tet.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but guards, you never know where they're going to go. Tyler Booker's range could start at 8, and it could fall into the second round. So he's got such a wide range of outcome.
Kelvin Banks, he went to Texas. If you want to talk about schools, I think Kelvin Banks could go here.
But if they're set on Guyton being their left tackle, which it sounds like they are, I don't know.
Banks can kick in.
Yeah, and he can also play right. But Terrence Steele, they locked up for 4 years, so I just Dallas's draft guy.
I don't know.
I can't think of his name. He does a wonderful job. That guy should be running this organization. He drafts well, and it's obvious because Dallas always keeps these guys. It's just the organization outside the draft is run poorly. I hear they might target a quarterback in the draft. So who knows with Dallas? I would say offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver are probably the 3 biggest needs for them.
Yeah, I would definitely say offensive line for sure, and then edge, and then wide receiver. Yeah, that's essentially what they need. I don't think they go receiver, though, at 12. I think they're going to build the trenches.
I would not rule out Matthew Golden or Tedero McMillan at 12.
Yeah, I think they're just like they traded a 4th for Mingo.
Yeah, but don't use logic with the Cowboys.
I'm not saying I get that. I don't know.
All right,
I'm just drafting as if I was running the team, but I'm obviously not. But you need offensive line, dude. You need to protect Dak.
Miami brought in James Daniels.
Of needing offensive line.
Yeah. Well, they signed James Daniels, who was the best guard on the market.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming off an ACL injury, so we'll see how that goes. But they got a guard. They brought in Zach Wilson, fun little backup for Tua, which I like. I think Zach Wilson's better than anybody they plucked off the streets last year. Touchdown god, Nick Westbrook-Akine. You just need to get faster here in Miami. Let's add another speed guy. They brought in Alexander Madison, so they pretty much just swapped shitty running backs with Vegas.
It was a straight trade.
Yeah. Melifanu, the safety from the Lions, they brought him, and then they kept some of their own guys, Liam Eichenberg, Tyrell Dotson, the linebacker. Mm-hmm. So Miami's needs, they still need offensive line, whether it's tackle or interior.
Yep.
Still a need there for the Dolphins. And then defensive back, corner, safety, I think, are in play as well.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta stack up that secondary. If you like one of the corners that are there, pick them. Josh Simmons, the tackle from Ohio State, would be a really good fit here. He can pull out. He can move.
He's
really
he's so athletic. It's a great fit for Miami. It is his medical.
I would love that as exactly. Is he healthy? He's coming off an injury that no one really knows about and the severity of it. But man, he can pull, dude. He can get to that next level. He can make blocks around the outside.
Mm-hmm.
He's that tackle that Miami's looking for. So I think Simmons would make sense here. Barron, the cornerback from Texas, Will Johnson, the quarterback from Michigan, also good fits. Depending on how they feel about blanking on his name, safety from Georgia, Malachi Starks.
I wouldn't even rule out the other safety, Nick Moray here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit early right now, 13 for the two safeties, but I think five or so picks from here is when their range kind of starts.
Yeah. The Colts, they re-signed their right tackle, Braden Smith. They brought back Ashton Doolin, the wide receiver. They spent some money. Cam Bynum, Vikings legend. He was the dance coordinator, safety. They gave him big money. He goes to Indy. They signed Travarius Ward from the 49ers. So really shoring up the secondary there. They also brought in Daniel Jones and Khalil Herbert at running back. So
love the Danny Jones signing.
Yeah, Indy had a nice little year. They filled some needs, and it gives them some leeway with their pick. Obviously, tight end. That's the pick everybody wants to give them, whether Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren. I still think they need a corner, Travarius Ward, and then they got Kenny Moore in the nickel. I still think they need another outside guy. And I like Tyler Booker here as well. I think they need an interior guy. They lost Will Fries to the Vikings, and they lost their center also to the Vikings. So Tyler Booker to Indy, I think is a really low-key good pick for them.
I agree. Yeah, if you can hit on a tight end, an interior lineman, an edge rusher would be kind of cool. Solidify the cornerbacks. I think what's his face from Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama, could possibly kind of start entering boards probably a couple picks ago. He's kind of be talked about from like 10 on, 11 on, kind of like San Fran range down for Jahad Campbell.
I love Jahdae Barron.
The Colts
I think if Jahdae Barron's here for Indy, he should be their pick. Run it to the podium. Even if Tyler Warren is on the board, I'd rather take the shot on Jahdae Campbell as CB1 potentially for some people, depending on how you view Travis Hunter. So that's where I would lean. I would lean corner, but interior tight end, cornerback. I think we're looking at their biggest needs in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think the Colts can they have free range here on where they can kind of go. They're not really locked into one or two positions.
Yeah. Let the board fall.
So they can kind of mess around, which I do like here for Indy. And they're kind of notorious for that. They'll kind of hit on whatever they need throughout the draft. They don't rush picks. They don't overextend. They get the right picks made here in Indy. I trust them, dude. I think Danny Jones brought in. I think that hopefully lights a fire under Richardson's ass.
Yep.
But if Richardson crashes and burns again, you have a guy that can go in there and run the offense. And he's not great, but he can run an offense.
The least prolific passing attack in NFL history, Daniel Jones and Richardson. 15.
Yeah, I think they were like the two lowest guys in like QBR or something like that in the league last year. Like, they were like the two lowest, and I love that. I find that
15. The Atlanta Falcons didn't do much in free agency. They signed four guys: Morgan Fox, defensive lineman; Mike Ford, corner. Their big signing, edge rusher Leonard Floyd, and linebacker Devon Diablo. They kept a lot of their guys in house. Taquan Graham on the defensive line, Kadero Hodge, wide receiver, corner, kind of gadget guy, Mike Hughes, corner, and Jake Matthews, their left tackle. Another year, another Atlanta needs an edge rusher. That's forever their need.
I agree. It's
they also need another outside corner to pair with AJ Terrell. Like Mike Hughes is fine, but he's replaceable. So an outside corner here because Clark Phillips, dog, in the nickel, and edge rusher to me are their two biggest needs. And you said linebacker,
yeah. Atlanta's need is defense. They're kind of like the Bengals, who are coming up in the spot.
So they're drafting Matthew
linebacker,
Golden.
corner. And I was just gonna make that joke, like, so they're going to pick a receiver. So it doesn't matter that they need
And
almost any type of position on a
draft
defense.
Tyler Warren.
Oh my god, dude, that would be insane. And then they'll hit interior line throughout the draft, but there's no center that should go in the first this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not gonna pull the trigger there. Hopefully they pull it on an edge rusher, but we'll see, dude. Jahad Campbell, I like in this spot.
Yeah,
I like that
he can do edge and linebacker, kind of give them a gadget guy there for Raheem Morris. I think if that's how they address the defense, I think Jahad Campbell at 15 is the go-to route there.
Yeah, for sure. He hits on two needs. So
yeah. 16, the Arizona Cardinals. They've been bringing in some guys. Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle. They brought edge rusher Josh Sweat in. Backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett, linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither, and then they re-signed some of their own guys, linebacker Baron Browning, Zay Jones, backup swing lineman Evan Brown. So Cardinals here, edge rusher, still a need, even with Josh Sweat. I don't think it's now as urgent that you take one in the first. You might be able to push that back. I think now it kind of puts interior linemen on the defensive side, moves up to number one. So we're looking at Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, one of those big beefy boys to kind of just plant their ass in the middle of the field and let them eat up blocks. I also wouldn't rule out wide receiver here, but they need to get somebody else who's not Michael Wilson or Zay Jones to pair with Marv on the outside.
Marv. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you can bring in a guy like Golden or Ibuka to team with Marv and Trey McBride, and you sign James Conner to an extension, and you still got Kyler Murray under contract, that's a good offense that you can cook with. But man, an interior defensive lineman here to just to hold that defense down and really anchor out the trenches. I like that. If you could pull one of the corners, like if Will Johnson falls, I would be cool with that here at 16. Arizona should be pulling defense.
Yep.
I think
I agree
so.
on corner as well.
That's kind of where I'm at.
I didn't bring that up, but yeah, corner there makes a ton of sense there if Will Johnson or Jahdae Barron do fall. Before we move on to Seattle or Cincinnati, let's give a shout out to our friends over at Dubby Energy. Dubby, they pride themselves on that full ingredient disclosure, no dyes, no artificial flavoring, all that stuff. They got energy, caffeine line. They got some hydration stuff. You just got to get your water in. It's a good all-around product. Flavors are delicious. They're rolling out new flavors all the time here. Like I brought up, they brought out the Tiger Blood, which is a coconut, watermelon, strawberry type ordeal. They got a Japanese soda release. They just dropped a sour candy type flavor recently. So they got good stuff. Check them out over at dubby.gg or download their mobile app, search Dubby Energy over on your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store. And then, of course, at checkout, use the code DRAFTED for a nice 10% discount. Support our friends over at Dubby. Support the podcast. Here, we always appreciate it. That's Dubby Energy. Be better. Eat that dub with Dubby Energy.
Hell yeah, baby. Eat that dub.
Yeah,
personal review from one of our good buddies.
2 shows in a row. I've got your
the blue raz purple grape is god tier. So I hear that shit's busting from one of our listeners, good friend K-Dog.
Yeah.
So go out there, get that dubby, eat that dub. Dubby Energy.
Yeah. 17 Cincinnati. They finally did
defense.
They signed Jamar Chase. They signed T. Higgins. They brought back Mike Gesicki. They brought back DJ Hill.
So much money.
Yep. They signed Odin Burks from the Eagles at linebacker. Joseph Asai, edge rusher. They kept him in house. And then they signed Samaje Perine, who's him and TJ Slayton were their big other signings as well. But yeah, defense, maybe offensive line, depending on how the board falls. But
I was going to say,
this is a team that needs an edge rusher. They need an interior. Falls. They need a corner. They need a linebacker.
Yeah.
They need a safety.
They need a linebacker.
Like Malachi Starks, Nick Ewenwore, Jahad Campbell, Will Johnson, Jahdae Barron, Mike Green, James Pierce, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan. All these names I'm throwing out you are all fits for Cincinnati.
Yeah. Any type of the top 30 ranked defensive guys are just on Cincinnati's board. And I hear they're talking about bringing back Trey Hendrickson, trying to get him extended.
Good. You should.
It's crazy that they would even consider to let him walk as the best key guy on that defense, and the other edge rusher retired.
Yeah, Sam Hubbard retired.
What are you doing in Cincinnati, dude? Like, the
Never
defense was already bad.
The Bengals.
The offense is going to have to score 78 points a game.
They also have like no employees. I don't know if you've ever like actually looked at their like upper staff website. There's like 4 people that run. They have like a general manager, 1 scout, and then the owner.
Yeah, and the owner's 3 fucking raccoons in a trench coat. So it's insane on what's going on here in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Hire some people. Hire us. I'll scout for the Bengals.
I'd love to scout for the Bengals. Let's get it, baby. Help Joe Burrow win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't have to pay us much. We're cheap. They love cheap.
Yeah. I'll stay forever. That's their deal. Sign me forever for no money.
That's true.
Yeah,
I want some type of money.
you give me a decent pay raise that allows me to move to fucking Ohio. Yeah. I'm in.
Ohio,
lock me in.
Baby. OH.
Yeah. I'll eat that Skyline chili all day. All right. Bengals, it's it. Defense, offensive line.
Defense, interior, offensive line.
Yep.
Any defensive spot, it doesn't matter. Edge, interior, linebacker.
No. Nothing changed. They could have signed so many people, and it still would have been defense and offensive line.
Defense. 100%. Yeah, you have the highest paid receiver in football. You have the highest paid number 2 receiver in football. Chase Brown had an amazing season last year. You brought back Gesicki. You have Joe Burrow. Solidify that trench and get 11 new guys on defense if you have to. So
I know the Bengals
Cincinnati needs to figure out that defense.
Trade picks often, but I would love to see them trade down too. Get more picks and just stockpile linemen across the board.
Yeah.
They should have 8 picks.
I don't know how many picks they have in this draft.
7 of them should be offensive line.
I was just going to say, I want 90% of their picks to be defense. So
yeah, the Bengals are traditional. They have a first, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a 6.
6 picks?
6 picks.
4 or 5 of them to be defense.
I want to trade. You got to get more picks. All right.
You want to trade down 8 picks, 7 of the 8 fucking defense.
Seattle. They brought back their own dude, Ernest Jones, linebacker. Big signing for them. Jaron Reed, their defensive tackle. They brought in Sam Darnold, 3 for $100. They brought in Cooper Kupp. Weird signing, but this team wants to stay competitive. They brought in MVS
I love
as well.
The Cooper Kupp signing.
DeMarcus Lawrence, the edge rusher from the Cowboys. They brought him there, and then they brought swing lineman Josh Jones in. Seattle, it is shoring up that interior offensive line for Sam Darnold. That guy cannot handle pressure from the interior. So Tyler Booker, Kelvin Banks, if you want to kick him inside, Gray Zabel, I think this is a spot for him as well.
My boy.
I think that's where they need to go. Though, if Colston Loveland's there, I would not be mad if they took him.
No, I agree. I've never seen a team completely switch the way they play offense all in one season. They went from DK and Tyler Lockett, who are deep burners down the field receivers, to Cooper Kupp and JSN and Sam Darnold, who is going to pepper the ball 5 to 10 yards down the field, and that is it. Their whole offense is now a completely different offense. I'm very excited to see what happens here in Seattle. Yeah. I think they have 4 or 5 picks in the top 100 or close to it. I want 3 of them to be offensive linemen and 1 to be receiver, and you need to solidify offense here. This is almost the complete opposite of Cincinnati. I want Seattle to go out here and get some weapons, get a whole bunch of linemen, and make sure Sam Darnold does not feel any type of pressure.
They got 10 picks.
We see what happened those last 2 games, dude.
10 picks for Seattle.
Sam Darnold
half of them are in the top 100. 18, 50, 52, 82, 92.
Yep. Yeah, so hit me with 2 or 3 interior linemen, 2 receivers. I really like the MVS as a 3. I like Seattle's receiving here now.
Yeah,
JSN,
I don't think
and then the field
receivers
stretcher being MVS.
as pressing.
No, but you need to bring one in, though.
They brought in Kubiak to run the offense, and he ran a lot of 12. So he likes to run 2 tight ends. Really, it's Noah Fant there, so Colston, Loveland, Tyler Warren. I think moving up for Tyler Warren or letting Colston Loveland fall to are a sneaky move for Seattle. But I address the offensive line and then get one or two weapons there for the Seahawks. But yeah, nice offseason there. I hope it works out. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. I think this offense has the potential to be dangerous.
Yeah, they have two running backs that
fantasy.
can, when healthy,
Good for fantasy.
100%, dude. Yeah, Cooper Kupp and JSN are going to have close to 100 catches each, probably, if fully healthy. That is.
Yeah, 19 Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I like Seattle's doing here.
Yeah.
So
the Bucks, they're at 19. They brought back Chris Godwin. They brought back Sterling Shepard. They brought back Levante David.
I did not see they brought back Sterling Shepard.
Hell yeah, 1 year, 2.25.
That's funny.
They also brought back Kyle Trask to back up Baker. And then Hassan Reddick signed there, edge rusher. That's pretty much their big signing. And then another edge rusher, Anthony Nelson.
He going to play?
He said something about like the year with the Jets was weird. Well, yeah, brother, it was your fault. It was weird. It was you.
Yeah, no shit, it was weird. You held it out.
Yeah. Even with Reddick, I still think Tampa Bay needs an edge rusher. Jahad Campbell, this is one of my favorite spots for him.
They need all tiers.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I would say
their
safeties are fine. Winfield and
no, I meant corners. I meant corners.
Corner, linebacker, edge is their need. But Jahad Campbell here, he reminds me a little of Levante David.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good fit. Edge rusher as well. Yeah. They still need edge help. But I think they could push that to the second round. They drafted Chris Braswell last year. Yaya Diaby's there. And Hassan Reddick. I think they could move that back corner. And yeah, I think that's really what they should be going for there. And then maybe get a receiver later in the draft. But I wouldn't say that's pressing with Mike, Chris Godwin, and McMillan there.
Yeah, with how McMillan did, I don't know if they will, because they also have I'm really blanking on his name. Trey something?
Trey Palmer.
They have another young receiver there. Yes, there we go.
And Sterling.
Yes,
Shepard.
And he was fine. He's a good 4. Yeah, I don't think they end up going receiver. I think tight end's a sneaky fit here, though.
Okay.
If you bring in a guy like Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo, I'm not saying here at 19, but I'm saying early on,
third.
I think
yeah, I like that.
Second or third, yeah, get Baker a tight end. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to go edge, you got to go linebacker, cornerback here. I think those are the 3 needs at 19.
20 at Denver. Denver, they had a nice little free agent class going here. They signed
Bo Nix,
baby.
They
signed Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers. They signed Taloni Hufanga, the safety, also from the 49ers. And then they locked up some of their own guys, DJ Jones, Jarrett Stidham, and then, of course, they signed Evan Ingram as well. So that, to me, does push tight end. I don't think we see Colston Loveland go here. I know that's like a favorite mock, but I don't think that becomes a pressing need. Wide receiver, I still think they could address that, get somebody else with Cortland Sutton, and like all their receivers outside Sutton seem just like number 3s. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin.
They are. I think running back's a bigger need, though.
Vele. Yeah, I think running back becomes number 1 need because they did not address it all. They did not sign a single running back, and it's now Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime here. If Janty starts falling, I think Denver moves up. And if Janty goes, I think Amari and Hampton falls to this spot, and I think that's who we're looking at here. I also wouldn't be surprised if they do try to shore up their defensive line. They got a bunch of guys' contracts expiring after this year. So Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, I think, are options here. But I think it's running back, interior defensive line, wide receiver would probably be the 3rd need.
3rd needs a little bit rougher, but yeah, I would definitely go defensive line, running back as like a bonus pick. I don't know if Denver's there yet, but if Janty falls, I don't think that's a bonus pick. I think you just pull the trigger. That helps Bo Nix out so much. Even a Mario Hampton. But if you can get a guy like Kenneth Grant, Nolan, you need a guy to really solidify that middle of the defense. I really like what Denver's doing, dude. They were a sneaky playoff team last year. They did really well with Bo Nix. If Bo Nix takes a little bit of a step forward, we're still cooking with a really good team here.
Yeah.
You bring in another receiver, you bring in a defensive lineman. Even if you don't go running back at 20, you bring in a guy like Henderson in the 2nd, Judkins in the 2nd. Caleb Johnson in the third. I don't like Cam Scattergood, but teams love him. He's going to go early. Denver's going to be cooking next season, dude.
Yeah. Pittsburgh at
For
21. Sure. They traded for DK Metcalf. Really strange that Pittsburgh's doing something cool. Pittsburgh never does fun things. And then they hooked DK up 5 for 150. They never do
flashy.
No. They brought in Darius Slay, which I think is great for their corner room. They need kind of a leader there because like everyone was always button heads in their defensive backs. So kind of good, just like a steady guy there.
It's a little wonky there.
Brought Mason Rudolph back, signed Kenneth Gainwell, who's going to be the pairing with Jaylen Warren as Najee Harris moved on to the team we're going to talk about next. So Pittsburgh quarterback, they're in the Aaron Rodgers market, but still a need here for them. They need offensive line help. I still think they should address corner. I don't think Darius Slay is your future option. He's old. So corner, I think
he's not.
Here, and I would say receivers off the board now. I don't think we're going to see a receiver.
Who's our other
at one.
Safety besides? Who's our other safety besides Fitzpatrick?
That would be
hey,
good podcasting here.
We're just shooting the shit here. Yeah. We're just we're going off the top of the dome here. I'll quick talk. I do think quarterback is still in play. If Shedeur, okay, so safety's in need. So if Shedeur slips, or if they think Jackson Dart can be that guy, I think this is a good range for Jackson Dart. Here to like the Rams pick, I think some team's going to trade up for Dart. I think at the end of the day, Jackson Dart is a first round pick come the NFL draft. The Steelers are the quarterback, offensive lineman, safety, defensive line.
Cam Hayward's getting old.
Yeah, you can go edge,
and then
edge or interior. Walter Nolan.
Keanu Burton's pretty good, but their other end on they play 3 down. Isaiah Loudermilk, like no disrespect, but that's a replaceable guy. Walter Nolan, here I think would be a good fit for them. At 21.
Pittsburgh could be blessed with like a Siobhan Revel kind of take a year off if they feel he's a first round talent, or Benjamin Morrison with his hip injury, a guy that you can sit because you have Darius Slay now. You can just let Rock get another year under their healthy belt, and then just kind of slowly ease them into whenever they're ready. Because they got Joey Porter on the other side, he's good. I love Joey Porter. He's a dog.
He had a nice year.
And Darius Slay now, so
Los Angeles.
A corner though for sure would be the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers at 22. They brought back Mike Williams. Previously mentioned that. I do not know my alphabet. They
would have much rather than bring back Keenan Allen.
Yeah, they signed your boy Najee Harris. They signed Gopher legend corner Benjamin St. Juice. They brought in Mekhi Becton as well. So, and corner Dante Jackson. And then they brought back Khalil Mack and some of their Elijah Molden. They gave him an extension. So I think we can shy away from them taking an interior offensive lineman. But man, I still think I think Harbaugh would love Booker. I think he's a hardball guy.
Oh, but, Tyler Booker's there.
Yeah.
I don't think Tyler Booker's going to be there at 22.
Probably not. But Colston Loveland, I think, should be the number one target here. I think tight end is the biggest need now for the Chargers. I still think they need edge help. Khalil Mack's getting older, and it was only a 1-year deal. And then Tuli Pelotau is their other edge rusher. So there, and then interior defensive
They could use interior.
Yep.
As well. Yeah.
Yep.
You can go either side of the ball defensively, edge or line or interior. Colston Loveland would be a great Michigan connection there with blanking on his name. Yep, you got it. Harbaugh. Thank you very much.
Do you think Najee Harris?
I don't know what they're doing here.
Do you think Najee Harris
running back off the 100%?
I agree.
Not throughout the whole draft. I think they can take one later.
No. Yeah,
they're not taking one in the first.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I would see who they take at running back later, because I think that's going to be an upgrade over Kamani Vidal or Spiller or
heartbreaking
whoever else they have on dock there in Los Angeles. Green Bay at
you got two good Michigan backs too that are going to go later day 3. So
good.
You got to watch out for them.
You won't hear me
there are
say
people that
Donovan
think they're
Edwards
good.
is good.
Yeah.
The Packers have
Hey, you
done
look good at the combine. You look
did.
good at the combine.
Yeah, but tape don't look good. Packers have done pretty much nothing. They signed Aaron Banks from the Niners. They gave him a ton of money, a guard, so he's going to start there. They gave Nate Hobbs a ton of money, corner, and then they brought back Brandon McManus and their own linebacker Isaiah McDuffie. So the Packers, they need a number one receiver. I don't think you're getting that.
I don't think they're
23.
going to do it though.
No, yeah, I don't think you get that at 23. I don't see Matthew Golden as a one. Maybe if Tet's there, that's what they need. But they do need a field stretcher. We do got to remember Christian Watson is going to miss the majority of this year. He tore his ACL really late into the season.
Yeah.
And that's when that offense started to dwindle. Yeah. So maybe they do look at Matthew Golden, but I think that's an outstretch. I still think this is interior defensive line or edge rusher and a corner. I think it's going to be defense.
Corner. Yep. I agree. Yeah, I'm looking defensively here for Green Bay for a good amount of the draft. Edge rusher, interior defensive line at some point, corner. But they're going to pick a receiver though, most likely at some point. You do need one. But here it's kind of a weird situation with what's going on in Green Bay because, like you said, they need a number one receiver. I don't think it's worth just bringing in any receiver here because you have guys like Reed and Dobbs and Watson and the other guy who never catches the ball.
Dontavian Wicks.
What is his name?
Dontavian Wicks.
I do like him. I like that.
And Bo Melton.
I like him a lot. Bo Melton is their 5. They have a deep receiving core, but they need a dog. They don't have the alpha one.
They need an alpha.
I think just adding a number 2 would just cluster the whole thing up even more because they already have a receiving room of 2s and 3s.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, edge rusher, corner, I think you really got to help this defense out here a lot. So yeah, edge, corner, interior, get it done.
Minnesota Vikings are at 24. They've had a ton of people. They signed Will Fries, guard. They signed Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, defensive tackles. They signed Ryan Kelly, center. They signed Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah and Byron Murphy at corner. They brought back Aaron Jones. Harrison Smith is back. They traded for Jordan Mason, the running back from the 49ers.
So, TJ,
they hit
how does it feel to be blessed with a team that makes moves?
They've hit every need they needed to hit. That makes 24 expendable. Because the Vikings have no picks. They have 5 picks in the whole draft. So trading back is the most ideal situation. But it also doesn't force them into drafting anyone. They could draft BPA. Whether that's Malachi Starks, Nick Ewan-Moore. Like, I think safety still need. Harrison Smith is an old man.
He's old.
And they lost Cam Bynum. So safety is a need here. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Malachi Starks or Nick Ewan-Moore. I think that's a fine range for them at 24. Personally, I'd rather them sit back, figure out a way. Hopefully Xavier Watts or Kevin Winston Jr. falls to them in the 3rd, but that's unlikely for both of those. Running back, don't have to address it. I think Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, I don't think we see running back drafted from Minnesota until the 5th round, if at all.
Later, if at all, I agree.
At 24, it could be anything. They still need another guard, another edge rusher would be nice as well. Even an interior guy. I still think the positions they sign, corner, interior, and guard, I still think are the most likely outcomes here at 24. But I would say safety and edge are now in the running. They might have moved up to more pressing if one of those edge rushers falls or one of those safeties falls to 24.
Falls?
Well, falls.
If one of the edge rushers...
The edge rushers are the ones that are falling.
I was going to say, if one of the edge rushers falls, you guys... Safeties will be there at 24, but if one of the edge rushers falls, you'll pull the trigger here at 24. Safety, interior defensive line, I do like a lot. Running back's just not even a need at this point. Like you guys gave Aaron Jones a contract for 2 years, I believe.
Yep, and Jordan Mason 2 years.
And then Jordan Mason, they both got the same contract, so they're there for the same duration. I really like that backfield. Like Mason showed that he could be a really good back behind McCaffrey and as a starter.
Still there.
That guy's a bum. You guys gave up on that guy, dude.
That guy's done. I also gave up on that guy.
Reasonable after last season.
But 24, personally, if I had to make the pick, I would take the flyer on Siobhan Ravel. If I had to pick it, I'm taking the flyer on the injured
If you
guy
have to pick,
because he could sit. I think he's a perfect corner fit for Brian Flores.
I do like Revel a lot here for you guys, but I'd pull the trigger on one of the safeties. I would go Imaware or
I'd be fine with that too. Houston at 25, they traded for Christian Kirk. They traded for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They traded for Ed Ingram from the Vikings. They traded Kenyon Green and Laremy Tenzel. So they went from trading the guard who was like fifth in allowing pressures to the guard who's number one in allowing pressures in Ed Ingram.
Yeah.
But they did hook up Derek Stingley, Mario Edwards, Derek Bennett. They brought back their own guys there. And they're signing like Sheldon Rankins. It's just some ho-hum guys. Braxton Berrios, Ronald Darby signed today. The Texans at 25 need to be drafting offensive line or moving up to get an offensive lineman. Josh Simmons would be great here.
Yeah.
Trading up maybe for Kelvin Banks. I don't know if he makes it 25.
Banks.
Josh Connerly. Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel. I think that should be the Texans board. Is offensive line, interior or out offensive tackle. I really think that's what they need to be addressing here. Keep C.J. Stroud upright.
It's so weird that they traded Tunzel. Like, I get you want to get ahead of him bombing out, and if you think he's going to decline.
There were some talks that
he's not going to decline this year.
The lineman room, it was just guys who didn't want to play. They just weren't, their heads weren't there. I think that's why they dealt Tunzel. He was problematic in the locker room.
I get it. And he had off-field issues coming in from the NFL or from college. So I get that he's probably someone that's not very easy to vibe with. But like the point of having an elite rookie contract quarterback in CJ Stroud is so you can pay the offensive line to protect him because he's on a rookie deal. He's making dirt. I get you don't want to pay Tunzel, but he's not going to decline this year. Having an elite left tackle is just it's a necessity.
If he's problematic in the line play, I understand moving him. If he's creating tension amongst the other linemen, he's not worth having around because eventually he's just bringing everyone down. Yeah.
You gotta figure it. He's like an elite left tackle, and those things aren't just an elite left tackle is so hard to come by. And CJ Stroud struggled last year. Now he's going into this season with a worse offensive line.
Yeah.
No Steph Diggs, no Tank Dell. Still the slowest tight end in football. Well, what are we doing here? We're just counting on Nico and Joe Mixon to carry this team?
Christian Kirk cancels Diggs or Dell out. He's going to fit that role fine.
I think he's going to cancel out. Christian Kirk's going to have an amazing season in Houston. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to heavily target him in fantasy football.
I think this team should also address receiver, just not at 25. Day 2, round 2.
It depends. If Golden's there, I wouldn't. If Golden's there, I'm cool with Golden.
Yeah.
Abuka, I would be cool with them taking a receiver because I don't think.
Yeah. I'd rather take Josh Simmons
Kirk's a 1-year deal.
Either of those guys.
Well, yeah, sure. Josh Simmons is there, but if Josh Simmons isn't there because he's a tackle,
I think he's going to be there.
There's a chance he's not. But I think because like Tank Dell, who even knows if he's going to play this year?
He shouldn't.
And Christian Kirk's a 1-year rental. So if you're looking at a guy like Abuka, Burton, Golden, I'm cool with taking the trigger there because CJ Stroud needs some type of weapons. Nico can't do it by himself.
Would you rule out Colston Loveland here?
No, I would say he's in the range with those receivers.
Okay.
But yeah, it's got to be an offensive side of the pick here. Either lineman, tight end being Loveland or one of the receivers.
Yeah. The Rams at 26, they brought back Matt Stafford, brought back Jimmy Garoppolo, signed Devontae Adams, signed Poona Ford. Quiet off season.
This guy's at Jimmy Garoppolo, like he's been a relative name in the last 8 years. There. That's a crazy pull.
Man, imagine if
he's there.
I was just going down the line on there because it was under re-signed.
I know you were. Yeah.
Hey, imagine if Stafford gets hurt. Devontae Adams is karma, baby. He got Jimmy G back again, throwing you hospital balls.
That's true. That is absolute. I do not wish injury on Stafford, but that would be funny as hell.
The Rams, I think with Adams and Puka, I don't think wide receiver in the first is something that they're going to be addressed unless if Matthew Golden's there, I do think he moves into consideration, but I think it's just him. they need an offensive lineman at tackle. So Josh Simmons, I think, is a good fit here. But I think this could be a sneaky Colston Loveland spot. I do think the Rams
I
end up
was going to
trading
bring up
down. I
Loveland.
think that's their best spot. Trading down or taking, maybe they do go Jackson Dart. And Sean McVay gets to kind of mold this guy behind Matt Stafford. But I don't think there's anything pressing here that the Rams have to pick. I would say offensive tackles number 1.
Nope.
I would say corners 2. And then I think you could fill anything into that third spot and make it work.
Yeah, I would say it's tackle, corner. You could throw tight end, sure, but is it ever really a need for a McVay team? It's just a bonus. If you would pull Colston Loveland onto this team, it would just be an absolute fuck around and find out what happens pick, because now we just have 3 elite weapons for Stafford to throw the ball to. But yeah, you got to protect him. I would go lineman here, and if none of the lineman board falls this way, the corner board's probably going to fall a little bit weirder, so pull a trigger there. But yeah, Loveland's a sneaky pick. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then I think Jackson Dart I think this is his range.
I would say his range starts from Pittsburgh to here.
Yeah, the 20s.
Yeah.
Baltimore, they're up next. They retained Ronnie Stanley. Ben Cleveland brought him back. Tyler Wallace, Patrick Ricard, signed Cooper Rush, DeAndre Hopkins. Classic Baltimore offseason. They didn't really do anything flashy. And they're still in the need of they can just draft what the board falls to them, because this is a well-run organization that they're not necessarily weak anywhere. I would say edge rusher is probably number 1 on my board for them. I think tight end's a sneaky pick for them in the draft early. I think them taking a tight end in the top 100 is logical, likely, and Andrews' contracts are up at the end of the year. So if Loveland would fall here, I really like that. Or second, third round, look at Arroyo, Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor. Yeah, but I think edge and interior offensive line are the spots to go to here. Baltimore's not going to draft a receiver. It's not their shtick. I wouldn't rule out corner. That's why I would probably put 3.
I was going to ask who their corner boards were. I'm blanking on some names, but definitely defensive backs.
Their outside corners are
the other safety
Tampa,
next to Hamilton.
TJ Tampa and Nate Wiggins, and then Marlon Humphreys, their nickel. So an outside corner is something to do, unless they really like TJ Tampa, which I did. I love Tampa coming out. I think he fits Baltimore really well.
For sure. Yeah, we had TJ Tampa going way earlier than he did in the draft. He fell a little bit. But yeah, if you want to solidify the secondary a little bit, they could use it. Interior line, a little bit here and there. Baltimore's just kind of sitting pretty. They're like Philly, Detroit. There's not many huge needs for these teams. There's a reason they're drafting so low.
Yep. Detroit, they're next. They signed Roy Lopez. Their big signing, DJ Reed, the corner previously the Jets. They brought back Derek Barnes. They brought back Live Onzurike, their defensive tackle. They brought back Marcus Davenport and Tim Patrick, the wide receiver. So the Lions, it's still edge rusher. For me, that's top need for them in my eyes. You can't count on Marcus Davenport as your number 2 edge behind Aiden Hutchinson. No. And then I would say interior offensive line, losing Kevin Zeitler. I would love Tyler Booker here if he would fall to 29. I think that'd be a great get for the Lions. Gray Zabel as well would be a good fit here.
Yeah.
And then I would say the interior defensive line or as well would be their third need in my eyes.
Yeah, you can definitely help out the defense a lot here. Their defense isn't like riddled with holes, but you could use another edge. You could use an interior. You can use a linebacker at some point. Detroit doesn't have many needs, interior offensive line as well, but just
I would say corners in the market as well. I mean, they drafted Enos Rakestraw last year and Terrion Arnold, so maybe they give those guys the year, and they signed DJ Reed. So maybe they don't press corner in the first, but I think edge rusher should be the top of their priority.
Yeah, and there's so many edge guys in this draft. They're going to get 1 or 2 throughout this whole process. I really liked Rakestraw last year coming in from Missouri. He really didn't get a chance to play at all, so
he was banged up.
I think he gets a chance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he didn't get a chance to play that much.
Yeah, Washington Commanders, they traded for Debo Samuel, traded for Lorenzi Tunzel. They re-signed Bobby Wagner. They
Great.
brought back Marcus Mariota. They brought back Zach Ertz. A ton of other guys: KJ Osborne, Noah Brown, Jeremy McNichols, and then they signed Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Weiss, both defensive linemen. Will Harris, a safety. Jonathan Jones, the corner. I think with the Debo trade, you're probably not addressing wide receiver in round 1 anymore. So I'm looking edge and I'm looking offensive tackle. I'm pretty much looking trenches here with this pick, and then maybe corner if I'm going out of the trenches.
Yeah, no, you got that spot on. I would go. You can either go interior line too if you want, like defensive or offensively wise. They could use tackle, interior. They could use edge. They could use a corner for sure. They could really use a corner, dude. They brought in what's his face last year, Emmanuel Forbes, or 2 years ago, a year ago. I don't know when that guy came out.
They drafted him, and then they brought in Marcus Lattimore last year. Who can you really trust Marcus Lattimore anymore either?
Yeah, he's getting up there in age, so they obviously could pull the trigger here at corner. I think that's a huge need. Like you said, edge. The Manders should be going defense or offensive lineman here. But I like that they've been doing, dude. I think Debo's a huge upgrade for the receiver. He's obviously not what he's been.
Yeah. He'll help with McLaren. Do you think this is a sneaky running back spot? Like if Amari Hampton's here, do they fuck around with that? Would be.
I mean, you could. I do really like Brian Robinson. I think he's just a really good running back. But again, he's not a Mario Hampton. He's not that kind of guy. And they brought in Eckler last year, who's obviously old as dirt, but he produced really well last year and then got hurt. I think running back round 2 or 3. I don't think here at 29.
Yeah, that's fair.
What about tight end? No. What about falls?
I don't think so. They brought back Zach Ertz. They brought back John Bates. They also drafted Ben Sinnott. I think they're going to stay loaded with their tight end crew. Buffalo's up next at 30. They hooked up Josh Allen. They hooked up Greg Rousseau. They hooked up Khalil Shakir. They hooked up Terrell Bernard. They brought back Damar Hamlin, Ty Johnson. So they hooked up their own guys while bringing in Joey Bosa, Larry Ojinobi, the defensive tackle, Michael Hawk, the defensive tackle. Both those guys are suspended for the first 6 games, though. And then Joshua Palmer was their other signee.
I think Palmer's a good fit in for Matt Collins. I think Matt Collins produced well for this team last year. He wasn't great or anything, but he was always a reliable touchdown guy.
He's the Gabe Davis, Matt Collins role of this offense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Palmer has a chance to have 8-9 touchdowns this year on 500, 600 yards. Pretty low yards, but a good touchdown option here for the Allen deal. Is kind of low key underrated. No one's really talking to Josh Allen is now the highest paid football player ever. Yeah, it's just not being talked about. It's weird. Yeah,
it was such a low under the radar because they didn't need to extend him. They had 3 years still with him, and they just got it done. Yeah, get ahead of the market.
It's smart. The market goes up every year with the cap going up. So you know you're going to pay him. Just pay him.
Yep. So interior defensive line for me, I think is their biggest need. Another outside corner, I think, and safety. So defensive backs in general. And then
I think they're really looking defense
interior
here.
Defensive line. Yep. Yeah, even an edge rusher.
Yeah, I think
Joey Bosa's older. You need somebody else with Greg Rousseau.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think interior defensive edge rusher, linebacker, corner, safety. You can stack your defensive picks here for Buffalo. I think they're going to be walking out with multi-defensive guys in this draft. They're pretty set on offense. Obviously, they're going to hit on 1 or 2 offensive picks throughout the draft, but they're going to be loading up on defense in this draft, making sure Josh Allen doesn't have to go there and pull a Joe Burrow and drop 70 points just to walk out of a game with a dub because your defense can't stop a fucking Pee-wee team. Yeah. So hopefully Buffalo goes out here and stacks up that defense.
Yep. Kansas City at 31, franchise Trey Smith. They brought back Nick Bolton, brought back Hollywood Brown and Juju at wide receiver, and they brought back Kareem Hunt. They signed Gardner Minshew. They signed the Niners backup offensive tackle Jalen Moore. It looks like he might be their starting left tackle. They signed Niners backup running back Elijah Mitchell. They brought in Bailey Zappi, Jerry Tillery as an edge rusher, Christian Fulton at corner. Kansas City's offseason was mainly trying to situate their own cap space.
Yeah.
But this team still needs an offensive tackle. I'm not trusting the Niners' backup offensive lineman to be my lock set left tackle. So Josh Connerly, Josh Simmons, I think trading up for Simmons, I think would be great for them. Or letting Connerly, I think Connerly will be there at 31. And then interior offensive line, you lost Joe Tooney. You traded Joe Tooney. So Tyler Booker, I think, is on the table here. Gray Zabel. And then I would also address the defensive line. Like Chris Jones, you need another running mate on the line with him.
Yep. I think Kansas City has done enough re-signing of their own guys that they're not going to go like targets, receivers, running backs, none of that nonsense early. I think Kansas City's going to be building the trenches back up in this draft. A lot of interior linemen, a tackle or two, a bunch of defensive linemen, edge and interior. I really think Kansas City's building the foundation again here in this draft, stacking up those big body, big beef guys. Like you said, Greg Zabel would be a great pool here for Kansas City.
Yep. And then Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They got Dorian Thompson-Robinson in a trade from Cleveland. They got Kenyon Green, the guard from the Texans. They brought back Zach Bond. They extended Saquon Barkley. This one has no relevance to anything, but I'm going to say it anyways. They signed their own linebacker / fullback to a 1-year, $10 million deal. Ben Van Sumeren. Never even heard of him, but $10 million for him, linebacker, fullback. You'd love to see a two-way guy. But they brought in Adoree Jackson at corner, former Giant. They brought in Azeez Ojulari, former Giant edge rusher. Kalen Granson, the tight end. Harrison Bryant, the tight end. Josh Uche, the linebacker edge rusher. A.J. Dillon, running back. So not a lot of movement here. It's pretty much bringing back their own core while trying to get younger
guys.
And the Eagles, I still think edge rusher or defensive line are the need here. Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, if he would somehow fall here, would be a great get for them. James Pierce Jr. could be available here. And then I think Tyler Booker here as well if they want to shore up the middle of their line. But I think you're looking at a trench pick for Philly.
Yeah, I agree. They're in the same boat as Kansas City almost with this pick. I think they're just going to get ahead of their whole defense being free agents at some point. Like they're all on rookie deals for the most part, except like Bond and like two other guys. So they're slowly going to start getting re-signed. You're going to let like Davis go. You're going to let some of these guys walk because you can't afford them. Start getting the replacements now because Philly has so many picks in the next 2 seasons. I think it's like 17 or something like that in the next 2 years. Start rebuilding now because these guys are going to go get banked like Milton Williams did this year. He got paid like $26 million a year because he was on a defensive line that's stacked through and through. So all of these guys look amazing because you can't stop 4 guys that are all good. Yeah. You can't double block them. You can't do this. You can't do that. So Philly, Walter Nolan, interior offensive line again, just stacking up the offensive line. Well, again, Philly builds up trenches. They run rotations of guys, and they just know who. They're always a year ahead, dude. They're always so well educated on, well, this guy's a free agent. He's going to be really high on the market. We won't be able to re-sign him. Boom, here's his replacement. And like, look at Jalix Hunt. He was a 3rd round, 4th round guy last year. And he had a sack in the Super Bowl. He's already in the rotation. Guys like that is what Philly's built off of.
The Milton Williams replacement early on. Yeah. Don't rule this team trading up for one of the tight ends. If Tyler Warren starts to tumble, Colston Loveland falls, I think Philly moving up. Ton of picks to move up. Yeah, keep that in mind. I think that's a sneaky situation there for Philadelphia is getting a tight end who's a little more dynamic than Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of reports coming out of Philly that they're just looking at options at tight end if it's moving on from Dallas Goedert, bringing somebody else in. So it does seem that they're not happy with the production Dallas Goedert has been giving them. So yeah, dude, if they could pull like a Tyler Warren, a Loveland, he's never reliable, dude. He's not always there.
All right. That'll do it. Free agency.
Long one.
Team needs through the books. In the books. We were gonna do receivers, but I think we're gonna do a mock draft to end the week. I think so. Right after talking about all these, I think it's time for a mock draft, and then we'll do receivers to start the week. I know we keep pushing wide receivers back, but I think it lines up
It's
that
such a weird
doing
class,
a mock
dude.
here
Yeah,
is more opportune considering we just talked about all this stuff.
I
I
agree.
think doing a
Yeah,
mock.
no.
So we'll do a mock draft next or to end the week, and
Thursday.
then receivers. I promise. First episode next
Are coming.
week.
They're
Wide
coming.
receivers.
They're
We're
coming.
finally going to do it. You know where to
And
find us.
We're really gonna try to get
Yeah.
a second episode out this week.
Yes, we will. We will. Things are hopefully going to slow down here. Real life has been
Maybe.
abysmal. You know where to find us. We're over on Twitter at @draftedUp_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review the show, share it. We're on Apple, Spotify, search Drafted Up Podcast. You can watch the show over on YouTube, search Drafted Up Podcast. Thanks for sticking around here for one whole year, guys. Like, it is wild.
Hell yeah, dude.
We're a year in the books.
1 year. It went quick, dude. Went
Yeah.
quick.
So a little throwback, but we'll be back later in the week with a mock draft and then wide receivers to start next week's shows.
Ooh.
We're finally going to bring them to you as we round
there.
out our offensive Couch Scout series. Appreciate you guys as always for listening. Support our friends over at W's to code Drafted Up for a nice 10% discount. Adios.
Eat that dope. Bye, y'all.